On today's show, the Capitals fall to the Jets in overtime and concern around Ethen Frank and his waiver status.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms. My name is Dan Holme. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about the Caps as they fall in OT, this time to the Winnipeg Jets. Should we be concerned, considering that the Capitals have struggled in the last 3 of 4 games? I'm talking about the OT loss to the Ottawa Senators, and I'm talking about the struggles and the loss to the Vancouver Canucks. Is it time to push the panic button? I'll dig into that a little bit later. I'll talk about Ethen Frank and his waiver status. A bit of a unique position around Ethen Frank, as he has playing so well that the Capitals don't want to send him back down to Hershey. Is there the possibility he would even clear waivers if the Capitals did? And then in the final segment, I'll talk about the standout weekend for Ivan Miroshnichenko and Ryan Leonard. And hint, hint, you better have a hat ready. But just to get it going here, talking about the OT loss to the Winnipeg Jets, the team that has the most points in all of the NHL. And they definitely took it to the Capitals. And what went wrong is the Capitals were down by a 2-goal deficit. And much like the game against the Ottawa Senators, it was the Capitals trying to fight back, to claw back, able to tie the game, take it to OT, but ultimately lose in overtime. So the last couple games here, they got 2 loser points, I guess you could say. So I guess it's better than no points. And that's ultimately taking a look at it as a glass half full. For me, as far as I'm concerned, I am very concerned with how the Capitals are playing right now. It is something that you hear all the time by Spencer Carbery and pretty much everyone, that you need to play a 60-minute game. And ultimately, I think in a lot of these games, the Capitals are playing 20-minute games, maybe 40-minute games, but they are definitely not playing the full 60. And what it's all about is, it is mental errors. It is about not tape-to-tape passes. It's about zone entries. It's about all of the fundamental things that will make you a successful hockey team. The Capitals have struggled with that. And I would say in particular, this has been glaringly apparent in the game against the Ottawa Senators and the Winnipeg Jets, that the teams cycle the puck very well. And despite the fact in the last game that they had their number 1 netminder, Logan Thompson, in net, the Capitals got hellebucked by the Winnipeg Jets. So all things considered, a tough go of it for the Capitals. We hope that they can find a way to rally and get back into the win column. But just let's dig into it about the game against the Jets. It was one of those nail-biting games, I guess you could say, but they ultimately fell 5-4 in OT against the Winnipeg Jets, the top team in the league. So if you are the kind of person that likes to make excuses, they would have won, but it was the Winnipeg Jets. Okay, that game was for you. This marks the Caps' 2nd straight game with a dramatic rally, more excitement than we could have asked for, but ultimately fall in overtime. So there's the moments in the game that you're excited, that even, they're down by a deficit. And if you're an everydayer of the show, I talk about rallying, trying to get back into the game. They ultimately end up falling in OT. But the first period struggles. This matchup was a showcase between the leaders of the respective teams, but it didn't get off to a great start for the Caps, as they were down by a 2-0 deficit, with the Jets capitalizing on rebounds and a few fortuitous bounces. And you take a look at Logan Thompson. I don't blame him. I just think, I did Locked On NHL. It just seemed to me that the Capitals just got outworked in these games. And when they struggle, when they're down by a deficit, and when they're playing a team that can really cycle the puck very well, like Ottawa, like Winnipeg, they struggle. Cole Perfetti got the Jets rolling first, scoring off a rebound, and then Dylan Sandberg found the back of the net with a goal that took a nasty deflection off PLD's skate. And those are some of the things that, this season, I think that Logan Thompson has been pretty buttoned up. He hasn't looked like he was too, flailing out there. Logan Thompson, rather. I think that he's looked pretty composed. This game saw him having his hands thrown up in the air like this, those kind of things, like in disbelief that, he can't believe what's going on in front of him. But much like the game against the Ottawa Senators, and what we've seen here as of late, is the Capitals are off. There's a deficit right out of the gate. Tom Wilson and Alex Ovechkin were crucial in helping the Caps claw their way back in the game. And Tom Wilson, from one captain to the future captain, Ovi and Wilson were huge in this game. And you take a look at it, this team does have the scoring. It's not like, previous seasons where the concerns were, that there's only a few guys that can score goals. There are 9 players on the Capitals right now in double-digit goals. Now, although they struggled, Dubois scored early in the second period to narrow the margin, but the Jets, there's a reason that they are in first place. There's a reason that they have the most points in the NHL. Alex Lafalo quickly extended their lead to 3-1. Taylor Radish has been, all things considered, a player that I don't think has totally lived up to what we had hoped for. Some people talk to me on Twitter and YouTube saying that they have more viable options in-house, that why are they going with Taylor Radish? But Taylor Radish then found his stride and made it 3-2. So Taylor Radish getting off the schneid as well. But the momentum shift is there are points in these games. It's not like the opposing teams just run away with it, but the glaringness of the Ottawa game, the glaringness of the game against Winnipeg is what really has me concerned about this team right now, constructed as is. And later in an upcoming episodes, I'll talk about potential moves that need to get made. And I've talked about that on this show a lot. The Capitals need to make some moves. That they're playing well, but certain things are glaringly apparent in the last 3 or 4 games. I'm talking Vancouver, I'm talking Ottawa, and Winnipeg, that those are the kind of games the Capitals are going to play down the stretch. And how would they fare if there was a playoff series against, say, the Jets, or something of a team similar of that caliber? So the momentum shift. Throughout the game, the Caps faced challenges, keeping up with the Jets' speed and generating scoring chances. However, they found their rhythm in the later stages thanks to inspiring play by Wilson and Ovi. All things considered, Wilson has been a guy that has kind of taken this team by the reins, had a strong outing, notching 2 points in this game. Ultimately being huge for this team and proving to everyone that he is not just a single-dimensional player. He's multidimensional, that he has a physical element, but he also can chip in with goals and assists, which marked his 11th multi-point game of the season. Now, one of the things that we know about Spencer Carbery is he is not the guy that is going to go game in and game out with the same thing, or even he's not afraid of making changes in the game. And that was evident in the game as well. Tactical changes in the third period. Coach Spencer Carbery switched things up. Ethen Frank joined Alexei Protas and Dubois on the second line, and this trio produced several quality scoring opportunities that helped fuel the Capitals' comeback effort. I wouldn't be too surprised, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in the Caps' next game. Saw some pretty good things. You take a look at it, Ethen Frank chipping in, scoring goals. He can contribute in that way, but also we know has some wheels. So adds kind of a multi-dimensional aspect to that second line. But the finish, Ovechkin, if I'm going to walk away from this game and say, why don't you just pick out the highlight of the game? It is Ovechkin unleashed a powerful slap shot for his 24th goal of the season, tying it at 4-4 and not scoring it from his office. This is definitely OV shining here. And, just speaking volumes of what kind of player he is. Mr. Clutch at number 8. With the goal, he reached the career milestone of 877, now just 18 goals away from overtaking Wayne Gretzky for the all-time NHL record. Unbelievable times we're living in here, Capitals fans. Ovi has been a force against the Jets. I talk about on the show that certain players, certain teams, they excel with certain teams. Ovechkin, the numbers are in, and he plays very well against the Winnipeg Jets, and also the Thrashers before that. A force against the Jets and Thrashers, racking up 101 points. 56 goals, 45 assists in 74 games, the most against any single franchise. So if the Capitals are playing the Jets, you want Alex Ovechkin in the lineup. That is for sure. Now, highlights. Let's give a shout out to PLD, who has been huge for the Capitals all season, and has been on fire here lately as well, scoring again in the second period and bringing his season total to 12 goals. So PLD, the guy that was scoffed at in the offseason, like, ha, good luck with that, Capitals. He signed an 8-year deal with the Kings. Good luck with that. Well, thank you. I actually have found him a pleasant addition to this team. So even though this loss stings, it's an OT loss. There's certain things that, that we can take away from this that are positive. Some of those things are the way that Alex Ovechkin scoring goals, chipping away, now 18 goals away from overtaking Gretzky. And also the pushback that this team demonstrated from Pierre-Luc Dubois. I'm talking about Tom Wilson, that ultimately did not get them into the win column. If I'm going to look at this as a glass half full, I'm going to say 2 loser points in the last game. Things could be worse. They could have lost both games and really been set back, but it's going to be interesting for the Capitals. You take a look at the points here, 75 points, the Hurricanes with 68. So the Capitals, they do have a bit of a cushion, Devils at 64. That the one thing they don't want to do is start flailing right now, or things could get ugly. Walking away from this one, definitely some things need to get worked on. I know that Spencer Carbery is going to take care of that, but I am concerned. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to turn a blind eye and go, hey, this team will figure it out. I really think that they need to go over the film, and discuss the deficiencies that I talked about, the fundamentals. I guess there's not one thing that stands out to me. It's multiple things. It's playing the complete game and just the general execution of the game that has me the most concerned. All right, so coming up here after the break, I will talk about Ethen Frank, and he finds himself in a unique position. He's playing so well that the Capitals should have sent him down sooner, so he wouldn't have had to go through waivers, but he's played so well that they decided to take a gamble and keep him on the team. Is there a risk associated with it, and is it worth it? I'll discuss straight ahead. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, 2 teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. And listen, my team's not in the playoffs, yours isn't. It's the Super Bowl. How about get excited about it? How about open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on the game? All of a sudden, regardless of who's playing, the Super Bowl is that much more exciting. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. All right, in this segment here, we're talking Ethen Frank, and a unique position that the Capitals find themselves in is that he's played so well that they have chosen not to send him back down to Hershey, despite the risk therein of waivers that, he could get scooped up. And I know he's had to clear waivers before and all that kind of thing, but this is different. He is putting up some pretty strong numbers and making a case that he should be on the big team. And ultimately, the risk therein is if the Capitals do, for some reason, what is that going to mean when Sonny Milano comes back? Are they willing to risk a big gamble there by putting Ethen Frank on waivers? Let's dive into that in this next segment here. Today, we're diving into the exciting journey of Ethen Frank, who truly made his mark since earning his first NHL call-up with the Caps at the age of 26. So you take a look at Ethen Frank. He is the guy that has taken the long way home and, to get where he is at right now, that it has not all been given to him. There's been like this momentum, this rumble around him for a while here that, he's the fastest skater in the AHL. And just a couple seasons ago, the Capitals were old and slow and everyone was banging the drum. They got the fastest guy in the AHL. Why not call him up? There was some questions around it and didn't necessarily pop off the page in training camp. Spencer Carbery and the coaches told him what to work on. He did, and has been a huge addition to this team. And Frank has seamlessly integrated into the third line and has been an active presence in every game since his recall. You're asking me? I'm taking him over Sonny Milano any day. I'm taking him over Jacob Vrana any day. Over his first 11 appearances, he's tallied 3 goals and an assist, making quite an impact on the ice. And, the thing of it is sustainability, that it wasn't one game. Some of the things I've talked about with, Hendricks Lop here, that kind of thing, that they flashed in a game or two, but he has been pretty lights out his entire time here. Reaching that crucial 10-game milestone against the Senators is a big moment in Frank's career, and what it means for him. He's now eligible for waivers again, which creates some interesting dynamics for the Capitals. Now, remember, the team placed him on waivers during the preseason, allowing them some flexibility as long as he played fewer than 10 games. They knew it. They were aware of it. It's not like, there's not anyone, if Spencer Carbery didn't know it, someone would have made him aware of what is at stake, but played fewer than 10 games and spent under 30 days on the NHL roster. But now, this is where it gets a bit tricky. If they want to send him back to the Hershey Bears, he'll have to clear waivers first. Now, despite what happened the first time, I'm saying there is a small percent chance, I'm not going to put an exact number on it, that he in fact clears waivers. Everyone else's radar is up. There's people that cover this on all 32 teams about how players are playing around the league. I'm here to tell you, Ethen Frank would get scooped up if he was put on waivers. Now, this is a situation that's reminiscent of last season with Mike Scarbosa, if we remember, who after reaching that 10-game mark was kept on the Capitals roster for the remainder of the season. I think, it's a little bit different just based on where we're at in the season, but I think they need to keep Ethen Frank on the roster, not because it's a participation ribbon, because let's just keep the guy around here because it's a feel-good story, but he's deserved it. And you saw him even work up in the lines combinations in the last game that the Capitals played. And it's not fallen on deaf ears. Head coach Spencer Carbery has been very vocal about Frank's performance, praising his contributions and expressing that he deserves more opportunities and was given in the game against the Jets. So, however, the new waiver status does present some challenges. With Sonny Milano nearing a return from injury, the Caps need to account for their full roster of 23 players. For me, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to guess about it. If I'm going to waive anybody, I'm waiving Sonny Milano or I'm trading him. I'm sorry. I have not seen enough from Sonny Milano for me to say, wow, this guy deserves a lot. There have been glimpses of greatness from him, but all things considered, I'm going with Ethen Frank right now. Since Milano has been out since November 6th with an upper body injury, but has been practicing in a no-contact jersey. So he wasn't exactly setting the world ablaze when he was playing. How do you think he's going to play after spending so much time injured? I think that your answer is right there. Now, this might mean placing someone on waivers before bringing him back off the injured reserve, potentially including Milano himself. Like I said, I think that's the right thing. Now, his 3 goals, Ethen Frank's rank 3rd on the team, just behind the legendary Ovi and Pierre-Luc Dubois, both who have had 4 goals over the same span. And I wrote this a day or so ago just because I was catching up on the weekend. Plus, his presence on the ice has shown to boost the team's metrics at 5-on-5 play, leading to more scoring chances and high danger opportunities. So Ethen Frank, it's not just that he's fast. He is a playmaker. He's generating chances. Now, however, Frank's waiver eligibility could complicate the Capitals' plans for the AHL season, as well as you know that the Hershey Bears are in first place. To be eligible for the Calder Cup playoffs, players must be on the AHL roster by the trade deadline of March 7th. Now, I am a Bears fan, as you can tell, wearing the hoodie here, but at the end of the day, this is all about the big team. And if he's not on the Hershey Bears, well, I'm sorry. And I think that there's the depth down in Hershey to get it done. So for Frank to find his way back to Hershey for the playoffs, he must clear waivers before that date. So tricky things, but not too tricky for me. If I was Chris Patrick, I would keep him on the team. He has done nothing to indicate that he's not worthy of every opportunity he's been given, and all he's done is taken that opportunity and run with it. I am definitely a big fan of Ethen Frank, even though I say I should be. I'm a big fan of his game, and I look forward to big things from him in the future. All right, so coming up here after the break, it was a big weekend for Ivan Miroshnichenko and Ryan Leonard, and hint, hint, you might want to have a hat ready for this one. I'll discuss straight ahead. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. So in this segment here, we are talking about Ivan Miroshnichenko and Ryan Leonard, but I guess I could have also included Andrew Crystal, who I'll include in a future podcast. His prospects are just blowing up for the Capitals. Ivan Miroshnichenko, huge. You take a look at what Ryan Leonard has accomplished here recently. Let's dive into some Miro and Leo action here. We had a thrilling night of hockey showcasing the incredible talents of 2 of the Caps' standout prospects, Ryan Leonard and Ivan Miroshnichenko. Of course, we're hoping that Leonard can join the Caps at the end of this season after Boston College wraps it up. And Ivan Miroshnichenko, I think, is just on the cusp of making this roster and doing truly great things. Now, Ryan Leonard's hat trick. Again, this guy keeps knocking it out of the park. There is no weakness in his armor. Let's talk about Ryan Leonard, who had an absolutely phenomenal performance for Boston College against UMass Lowell, racking up a hat trick. And if you got a chance to watch it, it was ESPN Plus that I saw. Quite a game. Leonard kicked things off just over 3 minutes into the game, putting his team on the board, and then followed it up with 2 more goals in a 6-minute burst during the third period. Again, Capitals fans, if this does not just get you jonesing for him wanting to be on this team, I don't know what will. This marks his second 3-goal game of the season, bringing his impressive total of 22 goals in 24 games during his sophomore season. Now, remember, he was the 8th overall pick in 2023, and some people said, well, was Ryan Leonard the right decision? Was he the right choice? I'm here to tell you he was the right guy, and we're all eagerly anticipating his transition to the NHL, again, either at the end of this season or the beginning of next season. I think it could be at the end of this season, and that could be an absolute game changer for the Caps as they are in the hunt for the playoffs, or they are in it right now, if they can maintain. So Ivan Miroshnichenko also shining for the Hershey Bears, also led up the score sheet with his own hat trick against the Bridgeport Islanders. Quite a game. I watched the highlights on the Hershey Bears podcast feed there. Quite stunning. He shocked everyone by scoring just 18 seconds into the game. Now, that's what I call making an impact right out of the gate. That's what we're looking for. If we could see a bit more of that from him on the big team, I think that would be a game changer. And ultimately what I talked about, that I think he's just right there on the cusp, on the precipice of being there. His 3 goals helped the Bears stage a comeback from a 3-2 deficit, showcasing his knack for being in the right place at the right time. Some people, me, have kind of dubbed him as an Alex Ovechkin 2.0. Now, that might have a hint of hyperbole in there, but all things considered, not totally off track there. I think that he has some of those same attributes. Now, Miroshnichenko was drafted 20th overall in 2022, has been making strides with 11 goals and 21 points in 25 AHL games this season. Now, earlier, we remember he got his feet wet with the Caps in 18 games, netting 1 goal and 3 assists before heading to Hershey for some more development. And all things considered, I think, fine-tune the game here, there. I think he's on the verge of truly great things. So Capitals fans, this team's looking good. I do have, my radar is up. I'm a little bit concerned just over the last 2 games that, yes, they did pick up the point in OT, but it came at a loss, and this team has struggled here as of late. I know that they found a way to win against the Flames, but that game also kind of came down to the wire. So there are definitely some things that need to get buttoned up, and complacency will get you nowhere. The Capitals cannot be complacent that they are in first place in the Metro Division in a league of what have you done for me lately. The Capitals need to bring their A game. So I know it. One of the things I said, Spencer Carbery, love his coaching and all that. I have no doubt in my mind that he will get this team firing on all cylinders, whether it being, jostling up the line combinations. I think this team under his tutelage will be in a good position. Listen, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holby, and I'll talk to you again next time.